Americans are living longer than ever, and if we are prepared for the future, we can lessen the burden on our family and ensure that we are receiving optimal care. The preparation process can be a daunting task and requires careful consideration for all parties involved. If you're not currently going through this, it's almost certain you know someone who is. Throughout this series, you will get the tools to best support your aging family members and their caregivers with compassion and dignity, all while empowering them to make the best choices. Legal and financial considerations are the backbone to which every future decision is based upon. One of the most important things to remember is to have these discussions while the parent is deemed competent by the lawyer or financial advisor assisting you in this process. Have your family member meet with professionals early, gather the requested data, and file this information in a place that is easily accessible.
Are you sure you want to speak with Brian and Wes right now? I've been perfectly capable of handling our money for the last 50 years.
Now, Derek, it's okay. Nobody is trying to take your money. But Susan needs some guidance, and we're here to document our preferences.
Good morning. Hi, Jane. Hi, Derek. I'm Brian Mahoney, the attorney. Nice to meet you, Susan.
Hi, Susan. Good morning, everybody. I guess we're going to sit down and start the process of doing some long-term planning for Derek and Jane.
Jane and I don't need any help. We're fine as it is. There's too much of a fuss over nothing. We're not going anywhere.
Derek, we discussed this. Susan needs to know where things are. Well, you know how we have things scattered all over the house, especially the cash you have hidden in your toolbox.
Well, let's get on with it and make it quick. You guys are always sending me bills.
Here's a list of some documents and financial information that we'll need from you, and let's go over it and see if you have any questions.
So, first we want to list your assets, everything that you own, the amounts, and how they're owned, especially anything that's owned jointly with the children. This list should include your stocks, your bonds, your bank accounts, annuities, and/or the family home.
Why do you need the bank and investment accounts that my name was added onto?
Well, Susan, even though your name is on the accounts with your parents, they still control those accounts for estate tax purposes and for nursing home costs. So we need to take those accounts into consideration for our long-term planning.
You mentioned nursing home costs. Mom and Dad have a prepaid funeral and burial plan. Is that a good thing?
Those are great to have. Each parent can have $1,500 to put in the bank account for a burial needs account, and both parents can prepay their funeral and burial expenses. And we'll talk about that more coming up as well.
So let's get back to listing more assets that you may have. Now, for the family home, you can use the town's real estate tax assessment to equal the home's fair market value. Now, do you have any pension plans, retirement accounts, or life insurance policies? If so, I want to know the amounts and the beneficiaries on those accounts. So now that we've had a chance to list your assets, we'll take a peek at your liabilities. The home mortgage, a car loan, credit cards, debts that we might consider to pay off prior to somebody entering a nursing home. And lastly, since I do your tax return, I know what your sources of income are. You're both getting Social Security, and Derek has his small pension, his IRA account, and his investment income.
Another thing is you both have wills. That's great. There's a couple of other important legal documents that every adult should have. The first one, Derek, is a healthcare proxy with advanced medical directives and HIPAA release within. What that does is the person you appoint can help you make medical decisions for yourself. And if you can't, they can make medical decisions for you. The other important document that you need, it's kind of like a healthcare proxy for your assets. It's called a durable power of attorney. That person, your power of attorney, person you appoint, can help you with your assets and income. And then if you become unable due to disability, that person can then take over the assets and income and watch over it for you.
Who would we pick to do all that?
Well, Jane, you'd want to consider the child who's the most competent and responsible to represent you during life and at your death. Don't pick just the oldest child versus the youngest child, or the daughter versus the son. Pick the person that will represent your wishes first and foremost. Once you've made that decision, sit down with that choice, him or her, and discuss your thoughts for medical care, funeral arrangements, and other life-ending decisions.
What if they procrastinate on filling out the documents and something happens to one of them?
Well, it's really important to have the documents prepared and then signed while your parents are able. If something happened and you delay in doing this and someone were to be disabled and unable to sign legal documents, then the family would probably have to go to probate court, which would waste a lot of money.
A trust is an important document that you might want to consider. Now, the trust can be either revocable or irrevocable, depending upon the circumstances that you wish to accomplish, such as avoiding probate at death and/or protecting your house and your assets from nursing home costs. Once you decide upon a trust, you need to think about transferring your assets into the trust during your life, which is known as funding the trust.
What do you mean by revocable or irrevocable?
Revocable means you can change it. You and Jane can change the trust at any time. Irrevocable means that neither one of you or together, you can't change it by yourselves. Can't be changed. What's good about an irrevocable trust is that if you put an asset into it and it's in there for 5 years, then it's non-countable for Medicaid nursing home purposes.
We're worried that we won't have enough money to pay for all the nursing home costs, and we were hoping to save our house for our kids.
Well, Jane, if you and Derek are worried about protecting the home for the children and you expect that there may be a nursing home stay, the family needs to consider the state's financial aid requirements, which must be met before you can apply for benefits. Now, there are many common rules to this, but here's a few. The state has strict asset limitations, which must be met in order to qualify for benefits, and an individual and a married couple cannot exceed. An individual can only have $2,000 of assets, and a married couple may be able to keep up to $123,600 of assets for the at-home spouse. If you have assets in excess of these amounts, they may have to be spent down on debts, living expenses, home repairs, medical care, even nursing home costs.
I thought Mom and Dad could gift each of the children $15,000 a year. That isn't the case?
Well, unfortunately, Susan, that's not the case. There's no gifting allowed within 5 years of applying for nursing home benefits. The home now will be considered an exempt asset from these spend-down rules. In most circumstances, the state may place a lien on the home and seek reimbursement for benefits that the state pays you, and then when you die, they may look to the house to have those benefits be reimbursed.
Can one of us stay in our home if one of us has to go into a nursing home?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, what if something happens to Dad? Mom has no other income except for Social Security.
How it works, Susan, is the money, the income, whether it be from Social Security, a pension, or an annuity, for the disabled spouse, that typically goes to the nursing facility. However, the government allows a certain amount of income to the stay-at-home spouse, and if she didn't have enough income, some of the disabled spouse's income could go to her.
We don't want to spend all of our money on a nursing home. Is there anything we can do?
Now, as we've talked about, planning for a nursing home stay requires advanced thinking of more than 5 years before entering a nursing home and needing state benefits. The state will not allow you to gift everything away today and qualify for benefits tomorrow. Now, every applicant for state benefits may have to provide up to 5 years of monthly bank and investment account statements with their application. If there are any transfers or gifts to the children within this 5-year look-back period, it will be discovered and subject to a penalty potential calculation. Now remember, every application gets looked at by the state.
My eyes are glazing over. Can we call it a day?
Well, that sounds like maybe it's a good idea. When you all get a chance to sit down with the family and gather your data, Brian and I will start to work up a plan for you.
Great, thank you so much.
Being the caregiver may seem at times very stressful and isolating. Here are some tips to use in order to maintain a healthy frame of mind. When topics become uncomfortable to discuss, try to maintain respect. You will feel better about the conversation when you look back at it, knowing you remained calm and did not get defensive. If you're having a hard time getting your point across, try to remind your loved ones how much you care for them. Know that this conversation is one of many, and taking proactive steps will help to ease the stress of difficult situations. Try divvying up some of the workload. Let organized people handle gathering paperwork while more technology-savvy people look up information and tips online. Play to each other's strengths. Make sure that you take time for yourself and de-stress. You should turn to friends or other family members to talk about what's going on and have a shoulder to lean on if things start to feel overwhelming. Take pride in the wins whenever they come. Every victory is a chance for celebration and helps lift spirits. And finally, try to find humor in the situation. Laughter can boost your mood and help you push through any tough time. Thinking about the future and the decisions that might have to be made is no easy task. However, having the assistance of a lawyer and a financial advisor can alleviate additional stress, knowing that there is a plan in place and documents to support it. We hope this was helpful in providing some guidance into the legal and financial issues when facing the prospect of long-term care for an elderly family member. Visit the NVCC website to find a list of service providers. Thank you for watching.